Hello everyone, this is Rick Latona. This is the open house presentation of uppereast.com, upperwest.com, which also includes uppereastside.com. And I am joined by Steve Georgakis. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So before we get started, I just want to show everybody this quick little slide here. Let everyone know that so let people who can't hear have a chance to read what's on there to fix the problem, and also to let everybody else know that if you have a question, we love questions. Please use the GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar software to ask the questions. I will squeeze the questions in when appropriate if I know there's about to be something coming up in the slideshow, or at the end if I know that it should. If there's nothing about it, the slideshow already. So the deal that we're looking at, it's it's $176,500 for the set. We feel that the big value in here is in the domains. It's hard to get premium domains like this with any revenue, but there is revenue here with $44,000 a year. We'll get into that in some detail later, but the best way to really kick off these presentations is if the seller gives us just kind of some history on why they started it, when they started it, what it's all about. So, Steve, the floor is yours. Tell us the story.
Sure. Back in 1999, I lived on the Upper East Side of Manhattan and was thinking to myself that I would really like to know all there is to know about the businesses that were right around me. Even back at that time, you could find information on local businesses, but nothing was really hyper-local, which is zeroed in on the highly localized area around where you live. And for me, it was the Upper East Side, and at that time, I had been thinking that that this hyper-local type of a business would apply to the residents and businesses of all the large cities in Manhattan. So I then later, several years later, left my job and focused on it pretty substantially, and our plan was to grow it across the country. We decided not to go the venture capital route, and I've essentially funded it and run it myself with a partner for a while. So that's kind of the gist of it. It got started that way, and it's evolved ever since.
So one of the first questions that come in is, it seems like a good time to ask it. Are you the original registrant of these domains?
I am the original registrant of uppereast.com. I did buy uppereastside.com from somebody, I think in the early 2000s, and then I did buy upperwest.com also from somebody in, I think it was something like 2010, 2009 or 2010. It was not an operational website when I bought it.
Okay.
Upperwest.com. Yeah.
So a lot of what we're gonna show, I got to give credit where credit's due. Steve had actually sent me his own presentation and lots of screenshots, and I just included a lot of that here for him to describe. And it looks like you have these 6 services, which I'm just going to read off because I'll let you describe to each one. But there's content subscriptions, content management services, banner ads, video services, photo album services, and other custom programs. So as I'm going through this, just tell everybody what we're looking at.
Okay, I think that just generally speaking, again, the platforms are focused hyper-locally, right? So we sell advertising, or what we're calling content subscriptions to the local businesses, and really anybody else that's interested in advertising, but the vast majority of the focus is on the local businesses. And so what we do is we list every business on every block and we sell advertising to those businesses that want to stand out. So what you're looking at here is essentially some example pages that show all of the businesses and then how customers stand out. So customers get, for example, bold, blue, italicized listings. They also get descriptions that come up in the pop-up on the map. They get blue pins on the map. They get special hover text in the listings. And these are just a few examples of what they get. And you know, the thing with UpperEast.com and with UpperWest.com is the entire sites have been architected for search and for easy navigation by users. So not only is the navigation easy for the users, but the content is worded with SEO in mind. I'm an IT guy. My background is computer systems, and when I started in 1999, I was actually on top of organic search back then. So I've been, you know, we do very well, and you know, you'd be hard pressed to find another hyper-local site that does better than we do from that standpoint.
Did you is this feature these features that you just described that are showing on this page, is that custom coded stuff, or is there a third-party app that you're using to do?
So this site is, there are a number of different components. The base of the site is it's a Drupal lamp stack, and there are custom modules that are built into Drupal, and it was done. I spent more than $100,000 with a company that knew what they were doing. And so this is a very solid site, and everything you see is managed very easily in an admin type of an interface on the back end of the site. So when we get a customer, we check a box, and they get all this great exposure, and then it's a matter of just setting up their content, and they have the accessibility to manage their own content. So in a lot of cases these days, people have, you know, marketing people or other people that are responsible for managing content, and that's how we handle it.
So what we have a lot of customers with lots of premium geo domain names, like you know, major city.coms and states and stuff like that. And is it a platform that could be redeployed?
No doubt. Yeah, that our original business plan was to go out to the different neighborhoods within Manhattan, and then to go to other large cities. And so we actually own some other domains for other large cities, and we were going to do it all under local city living as sort of the umbrella URL. But our game plan was to do it in 7 or 8 of the top cities that have a highly dense concentration of businesses and residents. That's where this model works. This model, I don't believe the hyperlocal model works everywhere. I believe it works in the big cities.
Dense urban environments.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
And you know, for what it's worth, there are more than a couple 100,000 people on the Upper East Side and the Upper West Side each. So each of them, I think, would be in the top 50 cities in the U.S., if I recall the stats correctly, if they were their own cities. So
yeah, I would have thought there would be even more. I've spent a lot of time in there. I mean, it seems.
Well, and you know, I'm only talking about residents. I'm not talking about all of the people that go that travel to work there.
Right.
Because this site appeals to residents, people who work in the area, and also people who are planning on traveling to the area either for a day trip to shop or as a destination for a vacation.
Okay, and what is this content subscriptions page that's on the screen now?
So essentially, we've got content subscriptions that we try to sell, and we've got a basic subscription that allows businesses to become a customer and to manage their profile, and that's what you're looking at for skin therapy. This is an old screenshot, but that's you know, the gist of it. We provide some collapsible content for certain customers that are interested, and that's what you see here. If you click on any one of those links, it would expand the content, and they liked that because they have a lot of content to show, and they don't want people to get overwhelmed. So that's their profile, and others don't necessarily need to go in that direction, and they've got different look and feel for their profiles. But it's all standardized. If you go into edit mode as an administrator from our company, or as the customer, when you get your ID when you become a customer, you can just go into edit mode and fill out the fields, and you don't have to have any kind of web technical experience or anything like that. But if you do have somebody on your staff that's skilled from a web standpoint, they can do even more with the page. So there are different tabs, and that's what we run through here. So the previous page talked about the general profile. Here we talk about announcements. So announcements are a different type of content that you can create on the platform that will allow you to convey information about anything that is timely and in nature, in some regard. So let's say you just you redid your store, or you upgraded it in some way, or you created a new website, or you're going to start offering new products.
This is for your advertisers to make their own announcements.
That's right.
And they have a control panel they can do that, or do they have to email the announcements to you?
No, they have their own control panel, but we also provide support as well. It's just like 2 seconds essentially to put it up. So so that's that's announcements, and that's a different. And what's beautiful about these different content types is they flow directly to various areas on the site. And what we're showing here is that announcements that somebody creates on their profile flow right to the home page. And we also have RSS feeds that go to other blogs that we own that we would also include. And I actually didn't include it in the listing, but the related blogs that we run would also be included with the site. But we've essentially got a lot of people that are getting notified on announcements. And it's similar if you just move forward, Rick, to the next slide. With some of the other content types, there are also discount. So events is another one. So events, you can create an event in your own area on your own page, and it will flow to the Upper East Side events calendar and become available for everybody to see. And I've also got really just it's a single individual right now. She actually manages events for the Upper East Side and Upper West Side, and she writes a blog for the East Side and the West Side, and she does our monthly newsletter too. So she helps with the events as well. But these events, any event posted by a customer can will flow through to the calendar.
Okay.
So it's all self-service. I think that to be open about it, self-service works well for some businesses. For other businesses, like to have our help. So therein lies some of the work that needs to get done. And for the current revenue the revenue levels that we're at, we're getting it done with next to no effort on my part, and it's really just this other woman that I have that that is handling all of the customer support type work in addition to the other items she does.
Gotcha.
So here you have discounts, and discounts can be created again by the customer themselves, and those flow through to a map page that maps the discounts. Because for discounts, we feel like having a map view of that is important for the local people so that they know what they can get where when they're going out.
Are all of those those blue markers on that map paying customers?
Yeah, yes, they are. Yeah. So we've got more than 60 paying customers now. We've been in the past as high as 150. And in 2008 we did 237,000 in revenue. Last year, you saw the numbers. This year will probably be a little higher than that. The reality is, we were just spending more time. I was probably half time. We had my partner was full time back in 2008. And we've had more people focused on it. I just, at the end of the day, it wasn't generating enough income for me, So I wanted to move back into, my full-time role, which is, I head up IT for a big company. So I really don't have time for this right now, and it's not getting the right attention. The reason I bring that up right now is that when we had more attention being paid to it, we had, more customers involved, and we were able to spend the time, creating a little more content. And the site is full of great fresh content right now, but it was really jamming a few years ago. So here you see managing photo albums. That's another thing that customers can do. Managing photo albums and managing some of the other content is an a la carte offering that we actually do sell to customers. We'll sell them the base content subscription, and then we'll let them know that, hey, when it comes to managing your photo albums or even managing some of your events and things like that, if you want to buy that program from us as well, then we'll do that for you, essentially. So we've got only a couple of customers that we're doing this for, but one of them is Mr. Wright. They're a wine and liquor location on the Upper East Side, and the owner loves this service. We basically do a new photo album for her every week, and it flows to the home page. And no, I'm sorry, it's every month. It flows to the home page, and she absolutely believes she's getting new business because of that. So yeah.
Okay. Managing videos. What is this?
So videos are another thing that I think that they're becoming more and more popular. There are a lot of businesses are doing their own now. I think businesses are realizing that you don't have to have you don't have to pay 10 grand to have a professional come in and do a video for you. That in some cases an amateur video, if it's whether it's an interview with the owner or some other coverage of the business, some of these amateur videos can be okay to put up on the web. And so businesses, I think, over time are becoming more and more comfortable with this. And the reality is that our platform, is a valuable destination if you've got video content. So a lot of businesses put their videos up on YouTube, but they really want to get them out on hyperlocal sites like ours, and we provide a platform for that. So you just go into edit mode, paste your video, and it flows through to our videos page. We can add it to our video player. You get a little video icon next to your listing so that when people are just looking at just a basic page of whatever category it is, let's say, bars, they see a video next to some of the listings and they want to click on it, right? So those things are all automatic. All you need to do is paste the video into the video field from within your edit screen, and you're all set.
Okay, links?
Links is just another content type that we provide. I mean, I think that the thought behind this is that there is a lot of positive press out on the web, whether it's articles that have been written about businesses or maybe I hesitate to mention reviews because there are thousands of reviews on some of these other sites. But if you were to get the New York Times to do a review or some other substantial coverage of your business, it's difficult to continue to communicate that content's out there. It sort of happens and then it's dead. But we provide you with that ability to list all of your links and essentially link permanently to all of this content out there, so that people can get still gain access to the positive press that's been generated about your company. And then of course, if you have a Facebook page or a Twitter page or something like that, then that's out there too. Now we also, and these screenshots aren't showing everything. We actually flow. If you've got a Twitter page, we can. We've got an integration with Twitter, where all you do is you enter your ID, and your Twitter feed can flow right to your page. So just we've got a lot of companies that do that.
Okay.
And if you're a restaurant, then pricing and menus, or there are some other businesses where pricing and menus are relevant for you.
What's the difference between updating your menu and just updating any other type of article?
It's it's up to you how you want to do it. You can just attach a PDF, or you can put a link to your site, or you can literally put the menu content. You can literally type the menu content right in. Here you see Divino Restaurant decided that what they wanted to do was just put an image of their menu because they had done some styling on it. But we have a lot of other customers that just put the content right on the page. If you put the content on the page, then somebody could, like in this example, they could be searching on our site and they search for seafood salad or Mediterranean seafood salad. Then Divino's page, their menu page, would come up. But
Right.
if
You can't index the image.
yeah, if you put an image, you're not going to get that. So it's just a little more effort to put the content. But once we explain it to customers, they make the call on it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the standard banner ads. I mean, it does work out that these days a lot of customers have graphics from, whether it's from business cards or other promotional materials, and it's next to no effort to create these. We've got templates and things like that, and some of the others that aren't as advanced need a little bit of help.
What
But,
about do you run any other banner programs? Do you run Google AdSense or anything like that?
We've got AdSense. What we do is we suppress the AdSense on pages where we've got customer banners, because we don't want them competing with with random companies that are buying into the AdSense network. So that's real easy to do too. We've got just a button, and by page you can suppress the AdSense. So yeah, that's it. But if we don't have current advertising, then we've got AdSense on the site. Yeah.
Gotcha. Video services.
Yeah, and again, we're back to the concept on videos. We're not doing as much of this today, but I'd say a couple of years ago, we were literally shooting videos. And so I had people that were freelancers that we would send out and would do a script and would do the videos. And for us, it was worth it because we were making a few grand or whatever the sold amount was for a customer year after year after year. So the first year, we're actually profitable the first year because it's actually not that expensive to have a couple of freelancers go out and shoot a video. But you really start to make the money year after year as customers stay with you. So that's essentially the model. Is the idea is to get great content out there about the businesses, and then make the recurring revenue year after year.
Okay.
Yeah, we covered a little bit about the photo album services as well, and here we're just showing that we've got a photo gallery on the site where if you create a photo album, it'll flow through to the photo gallery, and there's also an easy checkbox that allows our team, our staff, to promote any of this content to the home page. So if we check a box on a photo gallery, then that photo gallery is going to get included on the home page with the special content of other customers. So whether it's photo galleries or videos or the customer's profile page, you can easily promote all of that to the home page to feature certain customers and content from certain customers over time. And they really like that. They really like the idea of having the ability, a couple times a year to say, hey, can you feature me? And we take care of that
Sure.
With next to no effort. Sponsor placement is just, this is just homepage placement, whether it's premium sponsorship up at the top there or just a regular sponsor that's both of those are shown there. And we just put different pricing on that.
All right.
Again, yeah, it's all automated.
Well, before we get into the rest of the presentation, because I think this is the last of the screenshots, I got to say that this is a pretty comprehensive tool that you've built here for a local content site.
Yeah, thanks. We gave it a lot of thought, and again, I mentioned we spent a lot of money, and you probably would have spent a lot more if I wasn't personally involved. I did a lot of the design, and again, I'm a technical guy, so I helped to architect a lot of it. But I appreciate the comment.
Yeah. So um, the next shot shows kind of the level of traffic. Um, so it looks like you get what, about 2,000 visitors a day, right? Between 56,000 and some into the high 60,000s a month.
Yeah, I mean we're in the 20s on the west side, and this is in the 60s on average. I don't know what happened in February. I've got to take another look at that, but generally we're like around 90, 90,000 or so, for both sites, and yeah, we get the people that live in the area know our site, and if you search for Upper East Side in Google, we're the #1 return. We're either #1 or #2 behind Wikipedia.
Yeah, on that, I'm glad you brought. So what everybody's seeing here is a screenshot from Latona's where we just entered in the traffic from the different sites, because there's uppereast.com, upperwest.com, and then he's got the uppereastside.com domain. And I um, we normally would put a lot of screenshots in showing Google Analytics and a lot more supporting information on traffic. I want everybody to hear that we do have that information, but since it was a couple sites and I knew that there was a bunch of other slides at the beginning of this presentation and I wanted to kind of keep it under a reasonable amount of time, I didn't really put them. I just kind of put this page here um, to summarize it for everybody. So anybody who wants additional information on the traffic, let me know. I did put in this next slide, which is just a snapshot from Majestic SEO on uppereast.com alone. Upperwest.com has its own snapshot, which shows kind of the number of incoming backlinks he has and the quality of the backlinks he has. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I just want to comment quickly. Just the organic search. We just really, when we're in pitching customers, we literally pull up Google and we type every imaginable keyword, whether it's Upper East Side and the name of the business, Upper East Side in the category, UES, the zip code, anything you can imagine, and we're always on the first page, and in many cases we're right there at the top. So we dominate, and we're starting to dominate even more and more on the west side as that site gains, in exposure. So yeah.
Okay. So now's a good time to ask you. I've had a question was sitting here waiting for me. Earlier in the presentation, you brought up that you have these other blogs, and these blogs could be included. Um, how many blogs are they? Like how many of those 1,340 domains are domains that you control?
Oh, just a few. Yeah, I mean, it's not like I've got hundreds of blogs. It's just a few, and I mention it because there's one blog called the Upper East Side Informer that, I don't know, probably gets about 700 visitors, in between 700 and 1,000 visitors a month, and it's it's useful. In some cases, it's because it's been around for a while. We can publish articles to that can sometimes get picked up by various news services, and they can drive spikes in traffic. And the businesses also that we sell to like the idea that we've got blogs that are off-site that we also control. So there are a few. There are probably I don't know, 6 or 7, but the Upper East Side Informer is one that's been around a while that is probably the most valuable out of those.
Okay. Great. So revenue. So it sounds like it's all internal. This is direct billing to customers, or
You
or what are the different sources of revenue that make up this graph that we're looking at?
So I mean, we're making money on, there's some AdSense. It's probably only about $450 to $500 a month on average, and everything else is direct billing to customers. We've got a number of customers that pay us by credit card, and it's just a recurring monthly fee, and others pay us quarterly by credit card. Others like to pay by check. Some of them annually. Some of them, quarterly. So it's a mixture, and that's, quite honestly, that's where the time is spent. I mean, the time by me is spent, and again, I'm full-time head of IT for a big company, so I'm really only doing this on the side, on the weekends here and there. It's really billing and collections, and then paying the person who is doing the the events management and the person that writes those blogs. Let me also clarify that we've got a blog, an Upper East Side blog and an Upper West Side blog that are on-site blogs as well. So she's focused on writing those, and then some of her content flows to the Upper East Side Informer just via RSS.
Okay, so this is a good time to go to the next slide, which is the expenses, and to ask a question that's been sitting here waiting for me to ask, which is about how the girl that you said that runs a lot of this stuff. One of the questions is can she be replaced? And I hope she's not watching this presentation. I'm not saying that the buyer is going to want to replace her. We're just wondering if it can be replaced.
Well, and she's great, but I've cycled through many people in this role, and this role is absolutely a sort of generalist type role. I've got procedures that lay out exactly how I want them to manage, the events, and once if anybody who knows how to blog, will get the point. This is not rocket science at all. There's another role that's related to managing the data for the businesses. That's also kind of a part-time marketing role. That's sort of on an as-needed basis. I get that going. It's not a steady thing throughout the year, and I haven't even really needed to do it, for a while. But I may get it going again. And that's just probably a few $100 a month to have somebody just work some of the updates and hand out marketing cards to the businesses. Whenever they see a new business, they walk in and hand out a marketing card. But I think, to answer the question, absolutely, this role could be replaced with somebody else, and I've got the procedures outlined for how to do it.
Okay, and she's most of this. What's the rest of this line that we're looking at?
Some of the other expenses, well, so there would be hosting expenses. It used to be Slice Host. I now use Rackspace, and some of those expenses are fluctuating between $350 and maybe a little more every month. And that is really it as far as the expenses go. I mean, it's this site it's pretty much on autopilot, and again, there's so much more potential for this, but we're positioning what it is today. But there's definitely a lot of potential, especially if you just look at where we've been. And I'm happy to share financials back to 08 or 07, whatever any of you want.
Okay. And so tell us all about the day-to-day operations. Like, walk us through a day in the life of running the site and how long it takes.
Well, I think I probably commented on a lot of this, but just in a nutshell, it's for me, once a month I spend a couple of hours updating the data in the database and publishing it out to the site. So it's a pretty easy task. Once a month also I spend another couple of hours doing billing and collections. So that's the from my end, that's the time and effort. Now, if we get a new customer, I do spend a little more time on a spot basis getting that customer up and running. And I'd say it takes a total of about an hour to get a customer up and running. It can vary. I mean, if we get a customer that wants to buy content services and wants to do one of our more involved offerings, then maybe it's a couple of hours, but it's definitely not more than that to get a new customer up and running. and again, I'm not out selling. I'm working full time. I mean, I had a partner that was doing full time sales for from 2006 through 2011, and then he left. He's doing other things right now, but it was enough to to sustain him full time, and
Well, then
you
the
know
next the next slide is where I usually ask people, what would you do to what would you suggest to someone from your experience on what needs to be done to grow it? Do you think that just beating the streets and getting sales is the biggest thing?
yeah, literally, this is I mean, it's a no. There's not a lot of thought required into how to double or triple the revenues of this company. It's essentially hiring some salespeople, on a they don't even need to be on a commission only basis, but some base plus commission, and getting them out there to work to work the businesses. It's a localized type of a sale. We're competing. I'll let you know the competition is Yelp and all these other guys that are trying to sell advertising to these businesses. So they're out there selling the same way. So now they don't they do some of their selling remotely, where they'll call in to try to at least get a foot in the door, but a lot of times it's you're needing to close these deals by getting out there, or having an intro person or a marketing person get a conversation going. If they get a conversation going with me, I close things left and right over the phone all the time, or at least I did when I was spending more time on this. So yeah, that's generally the type of an effort that it requires to generate more growth in the site.
I think we identified one other opportunity earlier on, which is if someone has a network of premium domains like these ready to go, that you've spent the time and money on the platform, it could be duplicated.
Oh,
So,
yeah. There's no doubt. Yeah, and the way the platform is, we literally duplicated what we did on the east side when we launched upperwest.com, and we actually have we had a game plan to go to other neighborhoods in Manhattan, and our game plan was essentially to do it neighborhood by neighborhood. And I've got the steps and the procedures that are required to get the data going for each neighborhood, and that's the way to grow it in a big way, is to expand geographically. I was just referring to how could you grow these domains themselves, and that would be easy too, by just hiring some salespeople. Yeah.
all right. So you touched on it a little bit, but just wrap up real quick why you're actually selling it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an IT person. I started my career in consulting, and now I run IT for a big company, and that's that's what I do. I don't have the time to put in. It kills me to see the business at such a low level, when it was literally, like I was saying, it was 5 times the revenue. Back when I was spending half time on it, where my partner was full time. So at this point, it's it's definitely bittersweet for me, but probably the best thing for me to do is to sell it, because I don't have the time to put in. Yeah.
Okay. So sometimes it wasn't so obvious. I squeeze questions in the regular conversation when I can, and I think you did a really thorough job explaining everything, so we don't have any questions waiting for us at the end. I really appreciate you taking the time, Steve, to join us and to walk us through all of this. If anybody has additional questions after this, or if they'd like to learn more about actually trying to cut a deal, or get any some of those additional statistics and stuff like we were talking about, or historical revenue like Steve was talking about, you can either reach out to me anytime, rick@latonas.com, or the listing broker, Adam Beebe, adam@latonas.com, and we will help you out. So that's it. Thank you for everyone for attending, and thank you, Steve, for presenting with me.
Thanks a lot.
All right, bye-bye.